My name is Christos, and I have two jobs. The first one is at the University of Manchester, where I'm associate professor, and the second one, I'm a chief engineer at Peer Innovation. So I have one leg in industry and one leg in academia by choice. I wasn't forced because I like both worlds. So this touches some of the questions that you already had for Fivos. Thank you, dev staff, for hosting me. Before I talk about how to build and maintain research teams, a little bit of my background. I finished my PhD 2011 at the University of Manchester. I did visual machines, concurrency models. And then after debugging concurrency bugs for 4 years, I got completely burnt out and I said, okay, I'm going to do hardware, enough for the software. So then I went to Internet Labs, I switched completely, and then I did some hardware design. Then after 3 years there, I said, okay, yeah, maybe it wasn't a very good choice. Maybe I want to go back to do software. Then I went to Oracle to do compilers and memory management. And at that point, I started, because I saw the whole stack, I worked from programming models, compilers, runtimes, and hardware. I started developing my own ideas. So how I started seeing the future on systems, system design specifically. And I thought, okay, that's a very good, cool idea to start pursuing those ideas in an academic setup. So when the opportunity came, then I went back to University of Manchester, where I joined as an academic staff from 2015 until today, 10 years. And my research there, it's about heterogeneous computing systems, compilers, and in general, system software. We cover many things in the research. Halfway through this tenure at the University of Manchester, I also got bored a little bit. I missed industry. So then I started working for a company in parallel, Peer Innovation, which is a subsidiary of KTM. KTM, in case you don't know, it's a company that will do motorcycles. We are famous for Rally Dakar and MotoGP. And there I have a small research team where we mainly research system software for automotive and embedded. So I have two teams of research. The big one is in Manchester, and the smaller one, which is focused on automotive, is at KTM. So the more you work, whatever it is industry or academia, and you start thinking about problems and the solutions, then you start getting some, let's say, you may not, depends the personality, you might start formulating your own views of how things should be designed or some research questions. And some people, they see problems in, let's say, in a blue sky research manner, like in the next 30 years, how the world would look like. And some other people, where I belong in this category, is, okay, I have a problem. I believe we can do it better, and we can apply it now, today, tomorrow. So it's more applied, the research. So it's not like a blue sky research. So normally we think, what is the problem? Why is it a problem? And maybe how to solve it. So as soon as you start thinking about these questions and what, how, why, then you start realizing there might be something there, right? So other people in the world might have the same questions, and maybe there is merit in trying to solve these questions, right? So how to solve these questions? By getting money, right? So no matter the genesis of everything about the concept is to actually get funds inside in order to apply, get the grants, and then build a team to answer those questions. And sometimes when we ask these questions, we have to take a step back and think, do some reflection. I might believe that these are real problems, but what do other people think? Are these problems only in my head? Or there are really problems that they really need answers, hence I have to research them. So how do we find the truth? How do we find if people are willing to fund this kind of endeavors? There are many ways to do that. First of all, we can see the last 5 years in the top conferences what other people have been publishing to see where other universities or companies go. We can browse the portals in the European Commission or at the UK to see what types of calls they're funding, what topics they fund. You can talk with colleagues. You can see more long-term strategic initiatives in Europe. For example, 2 days ago, Ursula von der Leyen, they announced billions of euros of investments in AI. So by combining this knowledge about the papers, the funding calls, discussions, and where the policy makers want to go, the research, you can see whether your ideas fit in this narrative. Sometimes it's a perfect fit, sometimes it's not a perfect fit, so you have to a little bit reposition them, or sometimes your ideas alone cannot stand into this, let's say, framework, and you have to form alliances. So maybe your ideas are just a small building block of a bigger, let's say, effort to solve these bigger problems. But as soon as we find that, yes, there are some evidence that what we believe and what we think are problems, there are people that they are willing to fund them, then we know we are in a good place to start attempting to secure funding. So the steps of doing that, they're a little bit, it depends. The person, sorry, I forgot to tell you, I have to put it because it will be recorded. Whatever I say here, it is my own personal experience, and I'm sure my colleagues will disagree with whatever I say, some of them, some of them not. But I have to say that just in case people say, no, this is not the correct way. But this is my own experience and how I built my own teams, which I wasn't alone, I had a lot of help. So the first thing to do is to find the call. So have the idea. We are convinced partially that this idea might be funded, or there's an opportunity to be funded. So we go to the portal. Maybe this is the EU portal, UK has their own portal, Greece has their own portal. Nevertheless, you can go and scroll, see the funding, what they are looking for to fund, what are the deadlines. Then we find the target. So this looks good. We can apply to this call here for this grant. Then the next step is to form a consortium. Normally, there are rules. For example, you have to have participants from 4 different countries. The budget is between, let's say, 4 and 6 million euros. Hence, the consortium has to be in this, let's say, ballpark of budget. You have to network. To find people that have complementary competencies, that they share your vision, and also you fit with their own vision. Then write a grant proposal, which is the most time-consuming part of the whole process. Thankfully, in Horizon Europe, which is the current program we run in the European Commission, this is 45 pages. Before that, in Horizon 2020, it was 120 pages, each proposal. And then we submit, we cross our fingers, we wait 4 months, full of stress, we get the results, a failure. Always. And then we get the feedback because we get always the results. Let's say for EU, it's 15 points maximum. You need a threshold of 10 points to be eligible for the funding, for the rankings. And then you have the ranking based on the excellence, the impact, and let's say the work plan. So there are 3 criteria. If what you say is good, what impact will have to the world, Europe, the world, and the public, because let's not forget that all these grants are taxpayer money. And the 3rd criteria is if the consortium has the capability to deliver on the promise, because the Commission will give you 6 million euros, and they want to make sure that even if the idea is cool, the impact is amazing, you can deliver it. So then you go back to step 2. Again, you take the feedback, you do changes in the proposal, you go changes in the consortium, you write again a grant proposal, which is an evolution of this one or a new one, and then again you fail. And then again you do the same thing, and then again, and then again, and then you start realizing what I'm doing here. What is this? Like the Groundhog Day. Why I cannot get any funding. And the realization of this question, so why I cannot get funding, can have so many different answers that I believe luck also plays a role in this. So let's put some numbers. The competition, as people said, is so high that in the course that I participate, which is cloud technologies, IoT technologies, software technologies, these are the main silos where I apply. Normally, they fund per year 4 to 8 projects, let's say. And normally per year, they receive maybe 200 applications. So now we're talking about less than 10% statistically probability to succeed. So now, if statistically we need 10 efforts to get one, and then we're talking about 45 pages per proposal, that means we have to write 500 to get one. And I was in this position. So when I started, when I was a lecturer, when I first joined the academia, I started writing and writing and writing, and I was failing. But I wasn't failing miserably. That was what really puzzled me. So I wasn't getting 14 points, but I wasn't getting 5 points. I was always 10.5, 11, 10.5, 11. And although I was improving the proposal, so I was getting the feedback, I thought I was applying the feedback, I was always stuck there in this 10.5, 11 points. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know better, so I was keep grinding, like everybody else in all the colleagues. They're in the same, let's say, boat. And at some point, in the proposal, the first proposal that I managed to get, let's say, funded, in that specific instance, the coordinator of this project would be a company from London. So I would be the coordinator of the technical part of the project, and that company would be the project managers. And 2 days before deadline, I finished the proposal, all 120 pages. I sent it to this company, said to the guy, Yanni, here it is, have a look and submit it. So I took a deep breath. I got to get ready because I want to go out to see my friends. And then he texts me, hey, man, do you have 5 minutes? I want to talk to you a little bit on Skype. I said, yeah, sure, yeah. So you come on Skype, and he says, I've read the proposal. Not all of it, I read the first 2 pages. I said, yeah, and how, did you like it? I said, what do you mean? It's awful. I said, what do you mean it's awful? I spent 1 month writing it. I said, look, if I spent 1 hour to read 2 pages and I don't understand what you're talking about, trust me, the reviewers will not understand what you're talking about. So what do you mean? This proposal is bulletproof. The technology, it's solid. The ideas are solid. Our prompt, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you say, if you promise to build a rocket. If the reviewers don't understand it, they will not fund it. So you cannot start first paragraph talking about compilers, because the reviewer might not be a compiler expert. The reviewer might not appreciate the technical, let's say, merit of the proposal. You have to write it in a way that, let's say, the reviewer, no matter if it is from your field or from another field, could be science, they can get into it slowly, understanding and feel confident that their understanding of what you promise, it is actually worthy of being funded. So it's going to be, cancel all your plans for tonight. We're going to do an exercise. And for the next 4 or 5 hours, we were going sentence by sentence. If you're asking me, okay, what do you mean here? No, explain to me like I'm your mom. What do you mean here? And then he was helping me to raise the abstraction of my narrative to a level that was, let's say, more understandable by people not in my field. While myself and my team, we were normally writing scientific papers, which was full of technical jargon from page 1. So our audience of reading our work was different from the audience that this grant proposal was going to be reviewed. So after 5 hours, doing only 2 pages, he told me, did you got it now? Yeah, now rewrite everything. So I didn't sleep 2 days, and I wrote all the proposal to the new technique. And I remember when the results came out, in that call, there were 65 submissions to fund 4, and our proposal came second. So after 10 miserable failures, and after this workshop, mini workshop with this guy, the proposal came second. And then it clicked on me. I said, okay, it's not about effort, it's about technique. You need to have a mentor to actually help you to understand how to write a grant. The same way a student doing a PhD, being the professor, to help them write. And this goes back to what Irakli said, that communication, it's very important as the actual work. But we have to understand what are our audience. The peer review professors that they review a paper are not the same with the people that they're reviewing a grant proposal. So we always have to adjust our technique of writing or explaining depending on who's going to be our audience. So, of course, when it got successful, we opened the Whiskies at the University of Manchester. It was the first grant my team got. And then next day, new challenges. Then we have to do the recruiting, we have to do the technical project management, and you soon realize that if you are leading the project, if you are what we call the principal investigator, you are everything. You are the tech lead, you are the research lead, you are the HR lead, you are the admin lead, you are everything. Thankfully, the University of Manchester has some structures that they help you, so you're not alone. But I have seen other universities, people really struggle because they're all alone into managing the project. And when the project starts running, you start thinking of the next grant because now you have a team. And as Fido said, one of the problems of being a postdoc is that you work with contracts. So now you are into the second year of this project. You hire 3-4 people. But now you have to make sure that these 3-4 people can stay. So then you have to start worrying about the next grant. So you need to create a pipeline of grants. And if we factor in how many attempts we need to do to get one, we realize that it's a constant struggle to be able to have this pipeline full. So regardless, I mean, this is part of the job. I mean, we know that, and in the plus, or at least what I normally enjoy, is my daily interactions with the research staff and the students. The relationship, at least for me personally, between the researchers in academia is different than the researchers in industry. So, and I can compare them directly because I have two research teams, one academic and one industrial. Because in academia, you have their role is more like a mentor than actual management in the pure sense of management that is in a company. Both research staff and students, they might not. No, they might. It's a certainty. They will not retire from your group. It's this placement there is temporary. The student will get the PhD, they might leave. The postdocs, they come for 2-3 years, and they're gonna jump to the academia as a permanent staff or to industry. The long-term commitment is rare and challenging because academia don't give a lot of money compared to industry. The insecurity of the job security is high because you work with contracts. Of course, the academic will do the best they can to have always projects, but it may happen because sometimes they stop the funding. It can happen, and at some point, let's say academic staff, they feel that they cannot develop personally within the academia because academia doesn't have strict promotions, or it's more like they do have. Okay, I don't want to be unfair. You can still be promoted, but it's not as clear cut how as compared to companies. And also the promotion is tied to the budget. So if you, I mean, it has happened to me that, for example, we have a postdoc to apply for promotion, and the promotion committee rejected the promotion, although the group had money to cover the extra salary of the promotion. It happened. So these things are a little bit demoralizing, and they are, if we stack this with the non-competitive academic salaries, it creates a situation where most people don't think about it as a long-term solution for the career. Of course, on the bright side, which for me, this is where this environment shines, is that the researchers grow and pursue their own interest. So if you're a person that you get bored very easily, if you're a person that you don't want to go at work and do every day the same thing, it's really rewarding because you can collaborate, you can grow your ideas, you can apply for your own grants. But sometimes, as Fivos point out, sometimes you may need to make some tough decisions. Sometimes your research is outdated. Sometimes your research has done its cycle and you have to pivot something new, or the system you're working, you need to stop working on it. So it's a pros and cons. So regarding our lab, which was founded in 2004, we do everything when it comes to system software, like virtual machines, compilers, hardware design, optimizations. Through this decade, we have been still running over 10 projects from the European Commission, Innovate UK, or industrial grants, and our budget is, I would say, its average is around £800,000 per year. These are some numbers of how many postdocs, PhD, undergrads, and postdocs we have. Of course, our biggest strength, I believe, is the fact that we are full open source. So we have a motto. So the first thing we do when somebody joins our group is we don't throw code away. No matter if it's a small script, if it's a big system, we always have to make it open source because we do applied research. Meaning that we like to work on systems that are modern and systems that people will check out and use. Hence, through this decade, our group, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it is the biggest open source practitioners at the University of Manchester, which is one of the largest universities in UK. Our small group has over 2,000 stars in our system software, 25 contributors. We maintain I think now it's close to 1 million lines of code through different programming languages, and we'll have 7 downstream projects where we build upon, maintain, and push back over 1,000 PRs, and of course we have a really huge infrastructure for integration through GitHub Actions or our own in-house servers, because we do research for CPUs, GPUs, and FPGAs, so our software needs to run every day, unit test, and make sure it doesn't break, because companies and other universities, they do use the software, so we want to make sure to give back to the community. And now this comes the challenge. So we do our research because we need to publish paper in order to lift up our research profile. As you become famous in the community, then you can do collaborations with other colleagues to do grants. So the more grants you're involved, the higher the probability of getting grants. Now, because you have this open source, let's say, philosophy, you do a lot of engineering because you have to maintain everything, the regression servers, everything. You have to spend time to solve bugs, right? Because it's not enough just to put in open source. You also have to help the community that has a problem. And then at some point, whenever there's some value, some high impact software, you also start looking into making a startup out of it. And this is one of the reasons you do applied research, because you say, okay, this has value, we can create a startup out of it. And these forces, they're pulling each other. So the more you work on engineering, the less time you have to do research. The more you are working on grants, the less time you have to do community support. So you have to find the balance. And again, this is a problem that we have in our lab because we are fully committed to open source. Other labs, they don't care about that. Or other labs, they don't do long-term project maintenance. They do just small prototypes for a paper, then they discard it, and then they go to the next paper. This is a matter of choice. So what are my lessons, like what I learned through all these years? We need to invest in systems that are state of the art. So I personally am not a big fan of creating systems from scratch, because in our field, when we do system software, it is real time consuming to build a new system. We have to keep the ground alignment and the vision aligned. Sometimes what we want to do in research is not funded at all. For example, 10 years ago, if you were saying to somebody, you know what, give me money to do a compiler that takes Java code and runs on GPU, people, they are looking at you like you are an alien. Say, who runs GPU workloads on Java? Whoever uses GPU doing HPC simulations. And these people, they write C++ and OpenMP. Who cares about GPUs in Python? That was 10 years ago. Now, when the AI boom LLMs came, now everybody wants to have a GPU and everybody wants to have support for GPUs. So ideas that 10 years ago people were making fun of them, now they are important, let's say. So the vision, what you have as a vision might be old school, like it has maybe has been done in the past, might be on point, exactly this is what people want now, or might be ahead of the time. So timing is very important. And also the people, the partners in this ecosystem to share the same vision have to be found at the same time. What happens if you're out of time? So how much you can diversify, how much you can bend what you like to do in order to fit. You can bend a lot and you can massage your vision. But if you diversify a lot, so if you say, you know what, now it's very modern to do computer security. So I drop everything and I do security. The next 5 years, I drop everything and I do blockchain. The next 5 years, then you dilute your expertise. So then people that they will never associate you personally or the lab with expertise that they might need. So we have to be sure that there is some core competence that this lab is famous for. And the biggest labs, they are famous for something. We have to manage complexity. So it's good to have open source. It's good to keep building, but let's not forget that eventually these systems become complex. And the more complex they become, the more debt they have inside. And the more debt they have inside, the more difficult the bug solving. Hence, we have to make sure that we don't reach a point where the systems are not manageable. Sometimes you have to make that decisions. You have to drop a project. You have to change the infrastructure. You have to focus on particular subsystems and be opportunistic. An example of this, at least in my group, is that we have a compiler that it could compile for Intel, for AMD, for NVIDIA. Now we see that NVIDIA has the biggest market share in cloud computing for LLMs. So now we are focusing on NVIDIA. That means that the backends that support Intel or AMD are not as good as the NVIDIA one. So this is the opportunistic development. Always plan or have a plan towards commercialization, because this is like a small light at the end of the tunnel where you have a target. So yeah, let's do that. Maybe some people will buy, and then we can go to startup, and then make these what-if scenarios. And again, we have to build in-house expertise. So people that they want to stay at least 2-3 years. We as academics have to have a clear vision for the growth and the personal development. So when they leave the academia to go to industry or wherever, even in the CV, which says I was a postdoc, in this postdoc, I don't like the word postdoc personally. There are concrete hierarchies like associate, fellow, senior fellow. Πάλι να πω, ευχαριστώ για την υπόσχεση και να πω ότι πάλι είναι προσωπικές μου εμπειρίες και μπορεί κάποιοι διαφωνούν με αυτό. Okay.
Θα να ρωτήσω, Χρήστο, ευχαριστώ για την πολύ ωραία παρουσίαση. Συνεχίζει να κυνηγάς ευρωπαϊκά έργα, έτσι όπως τα κυνήγαγες στην αρχή, ή έχεις βρει εναλλακτικές πηγές χρηματοδότησης, και Ποιος είναι ο βαθμός επιτυχίας τώρα που έχει μεγαλύτερη εμπειρία στα ευρωπαϊκά?
Πολύ καλή ερώτηση, γιατί πέρσι που έκανα αίτηση για προαγωγή στο πανεπιστήμιο, έκανα μια μικρή ανάλυση να δω αυτά τα νούμερα ακριβώς. Προσωπικά, εμένα μου αρέσουν πάρα πολύ τα ευρωπαϊκά. Τώρα είδα και το Brexit και εγώ συναχωρέθηκα πιο πολύ από θα έπρεπε μάλλον. Το πήρα πιο στα συμπαντικά το Brexit. Τώρα φυσικά η Αγγλία είναι στο Horizon Europe, οπότε συμμετέχουμε κανονικά στα ευρωπαϊκά. Εμένα μου αρέσουν πιο πολύ τα ευρωπαϊκά, γιατί μπορούμε να συνεργαστούμε με πιο πολλά πανεπιστήμια στην Ευρώπη. Δηλαδή, για μένα είναι πιο όμορφο να φέρνεις όχι μόνο διαφορετικό expertise, αλλά και διαφορετικές κουλτούρες από διαφορετικές χώρες μέσα στο project. Εγώ προσωπικά πιο πολύ κάνω απλά στα ευρωπαϊκά, αλλά φυσικά και στα αγγλικά και η industry. Δηλαδή, να πάρουμε λεφτά από μια εταιρεία να κάνουμε ένα συγκεκριμένο project. Τώρα, όσον αφορά το δεύτερο σκέλος της ερώτησης, ώσπου να γίνει αυτό το κλικ της ιστορίας, ήμουν στο 10% ποσοστό επιτυχίας και τώρα είμαι στο 25%. Δεν νομίζω ότι μπορεί κάποιος να πάει παραπάνω, γιατί υπάρχουν πάρα πολύ καλά πανεπιστήμια σε όλη την Ευρώπη, με πάρα πολύ καλά κονσόρτια, που κάνουν πάρα πολύ καλές προτάσεις, και όταν δυστυχώς το funding κάνει 4 proposals και υπάρχουν 60 προτάσεις, όσο καλός και να είσαι, στατιστικά κάπου θα υπάρχει μια κατανομή, όπου θα έρθει η ώρα που θα είσαι τυχερός και θα έρθει η ώρα που δεν θα είσαι τυχερός. Τώρα, οι πιθανότητες μπορεί να αυξηθούν, δηλαδή υπάρχουν συνάδελφοι που μπορούν να συμμετάσχουν σε 10 proposals στο ίδιο call, και υπάρχουν κάποιοι άλλοι συνάδελφοι που δεν το προτιμάνε αυτό, δεν θέλουν να κάνουν ανταγωνισμό μεταξύ των proposal τους. Εγώ ακόμα δεν έχω καταλήξει τι κάνω. Εγώ είμαι πιο πολύ στο κομμάτι τεχνικό, δηλαδή αν δεν πιστεύω ότι μπορώ να συνεισφέρω κάπου πρακτικά ή δεν ταιριάζω στο concept ή δεν μ' αρέσει ή δεν έχω το expertise να το υποστηρίξω, προτιμώ να μην συμμετάσχω, και έχει τύχει να πω όχι και proposal τα οποία ήταν επιτυχημένα. Αλλά από την άλλη όμως, και να είσαι ένα proposal, ένα project το οποίο δεν μπορείς να κάνεις πράγματα πολλά και είσαι απλώς υπάρχεις, δεν μ' αρέσει. Γιατί θέλουμε στο δικό μου group να μαθαίνουμε πράγματα όσο δουλεύουμε.
Christos, ευχαριστώ πολύ για την παρουσία σου. Έχω μια ερώτηση. Όταν ανέφερες τα προβλήματα, όπως π.χ. onboarding, debugging, όλα αυτά, μου φάνηκε ότι ήταν πολλά προβλήματα που θα έβρισκες και σε μια εταιρεία.
Ναι, ακριβώς το ίδιο είναι.
Ναι, είναι σωστό να το δούμε, δηλαδή κάθε πρώτη που παίρνεις σαν να τρέχεις μια μικρή startup ή κάτι παρόμοιο.
Ναι, για μένα προσωπικά, ναι, γιατί αυτό τώρα είναι ανέκδοτη ιστορία. Έχω διαφωνήσει πάρα πολλές φορές με συναδελφούς για τον τρόπο που ένα lab πρέπει να διαχειρίζεται. Δηλαδή, υπάρχουν συναδελφοί που έρχεται σώμα φοιτητής, λένε άντε, καλή τύχη τώρα, άντε, μόνος σου. Και άλλα μετά από 3 χρόνια να μου πεις τι έκανες, και άμα είσαι τυχερός και περάσεις την εξέταση, θα πας στο δοκτορικό. Υπάρχουν άλλοι, όπως και εμένα, που έχουμε το Slack channel μας, έχουμε τους κανόνες μας, έχουμε το training μας, έχουμε το daily ή το weekly stand-up, έχουμε το canvas μας με τα task μας, το οποίο είναι εταιρικό. Εγώ αυτές τις ιδέες δεν τις σκέφτηκα μόνος μου. Από την εταιρεία που δούλευα, εφάρμοσα το management που κάνουμε στην εταιρεία στο πανεπιστήμιο. Γιατί εμένα προσωπικά με βόλευε, αν έχεις 10 άτομα, 20 άτομα ομάδα, πού να θυμάσαι πού έχεις μείνει με τον καθένα. Είναι τόσο dynamic. Ιδέες έρχονται, φεύγουν, γίνονται prototypes. Και για μένα προσωπικά ήταν πιο εύκολο να διαχειρίζουμε την ομάδα ως startup. Όχι όσον αφορά το micromanagement ή την αυστηρότητα, όσον αφορά το τεχνικό κομμάτι, ότι θα κάνουμε onboarding. Ότι τώρα, αυτή τη εβδομάδα, θα κάνουμε αυτό το task για warm-up task. Ή όταν γράφεις κώδικα, θα γίνει code review. Θα γίνει pull request. Τα λέω σαν τέλος και λένε τρελώσαι. Κάθεσαι, κάνεις code review στους φοιτητές. Λέω ναι. Γιατί οι φοιτητές αυτοί αύριο θα πάνε στην εταιρεία. Πώς θα πας στην εταιρεία? Καταρχάς, πλέον πρέπει να βάλεις το GitHub σου στο CV, να πάνε να δουν τον κώδικα που έγραψες, τι ποιότητας είναι. Δεν είναι όπως παλιά που λες, ναι, έκανα ένα κώδικα, μόνο το βρω τώρα. Ο ανταγωνισμός, ακόμα και σε διδακτορικούς πλέον, είναι πολύ μεγάλος. Και θέλουν να δουν samples του κώδικα. Οπότε, για μένα προσωπικά, είναι ευθύνη δικιά μου, όχι μόνο να κάνω support το research ως ερευνητής, αλλά και να βοηθήσω τους φοιτητές και τα staff να κάνουν improve τα τεχνικά τους χαρακτηριστικά. Οπότε, όταν φύγουν από την ομάδα να πάνε στην εταιρεία ή στο πανεπιστήμιο, να έχουν κερδίσει παραπάνω από ένα διδακτορικό, κάτι παραπάνω από μια γνώση. Και αυτό όλο δεν το κάνω μόνος μου. Υπήρχαν post-doctoral, όπως ο Φίβος, που δεν είναι στην ομάδα, που είπε στην παρουσίαση του, ξόδευα πάρα πολύ χρόνο στο να βοηθήσω φοιτητές, να κάνω code reviews, να κάνουμε πράγματα τα οποία δεν είμαστε υποχρεωμένοι να τα κάνουμε. Μπορείς να κάνεις μια δουλειά χωρίς να μπεις σε αυτή τη διαδικασία. Αλλά αυτό είναι η προσωπική μου άποψη, ότι πρέπει να τρέχει για μένα λίγο, όχι ακριβώς startup, αλλά λίγο startup, γιατί βοηθάει πρώτα εμένα για να ξέρω η ομάδα που κινείται όσον αφορά τους στόχους της και το process, αλλά και να μαθαίνουν οι φοιτητές ειδικά και οι postdocs που δεν έχουν εμπειρία από εταιρεία, πώς αύριο μεθαύριο θα πας στην εταιρεία να μην πελαγώσουν και να μην. Εγώ το έχω δει σε εταιρεία όταν ήμουν παλιά, πριν από 15 χρόνια, που ερχόταν και εγώ μαζί με αυτούς. Πήγα στην εταιρεία, στην Intel, πρώτη μέρα, τότε ούτε η GitHub δεν υπήρχε. Η CV γράφαμε και ούτε αυτό δεν χρησιμοποιούσα. Ώσπου να μάθω τα tools, τη μεθοδολογία, το complex, να έχω αρνητικό code review, να μου κάνουν reject το code review, το pull request. Να αρχίζω να μετά λέω τον εαυτό μου, μήπως δεν είμαι καλός, μήπως νομίζουν τώρα οι άλλοι ότι δεν είμαι καλός. Και με πήρανε, ήρθε τώρα αυτός που έχει διδακτορικό και δεν πρέπει να γράψει 10 γραμμές κώδικα. Και αυτά όλα στην ψυχολογία που πας στην εταιρεία, χωρίς να έχεις εμπειρία από εταιρεία, τα σκέφτεσαι. Αν όμως σου κάνω reject το code review στο πρώτο έτος του διδακτορικού και σου εξηγήσω, μην ανησυχείς, δεν πειράζει, θα μάθουμε. Και μπει σε αυτή τη διαδικασία, όταν γίνει αυτό στην εταιρεία, πρώτο θα έχεις λιγότερα πιθανότητες για να γίνει, γιατί μαθαίνεις τον τρόπο πώς να σκέφτεσαι και πώς να κάνεις την διαδικασία, αλλά και αν γίνει, δεν θα χτυπήσει τόσο πολύ συναισθηματικά, όσο να μην το κάνεις ποτέ και να έρθεις πρώτη μέρα σε αυτή τη νέα μεθοδολογία. Εγώ είμαι αυτή τη άποψη και αυτό χρησιμοποιούμε. Γι' αυτό πολλά από αυτά που βλέπετε στα slide μου είναι λίγο εταιρικά, γιατί τα χρησιμοποιώ στην εταιρεία.
Έχω μια απορία. Ουσιαστικά, όταν κάνεις ένα grant και τελειώνει, μετά τι γίνεται? Δηλαδή, έχεις δει αποτελέσματα που ο κώδικας σου χρησιμοποιείται κάπου, δηλαδή, τι γίνεται μετά από αυτό?
Αυτό είναι μεγάλο σημείο τριβής μεταξύ ημών των ακαδημαϊκών και της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης. Η Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση τι κάνει? Λέει, έχω αυτό το budget για 3 χρόνια, τρέξτε το. Και θέλω να μου πείτε, αφού τελειώσει το project, τι πλάνο έχετε για να συνεχίσετε να κάνετε disseminate τα results. Ωραία. Οπότε, τι κάνει η Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση? Όταν τελειώνει το project, έρχονται και σου λένε, ωραία, πες μου, από αυτό που έκανες, ποια είναι τα καλά σου στοιχεία? Δηλαδή, έβγαλες αυτό το software, έβγαλες αυτή τη μεθοδολογία. Θα βάλουν σε ένα site, αυτό λέγεται το acceleration, impact acceleration πλάνο. Οπότε, θεωρητικά, αυτά τα software κάπως θα κάνουν disseminate μέσα στην Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση, οπότε άλλοι partner δουν, αυτό είναι πάρα πολύ ωραίο, το χρειαζόμαστε, θα το συνεχίσουμε. Αυτή είναι θεωρία. Πρακτικά όμως, από τη στιγμή που τελειώνει το grant, δεν μπορείς ως ακαδημαϊκός να χρεώσεις το grant. Κόβεται τελείως δεν μπορείς. Τελειώνει το Δεκέμβριο είναι το τελευταίο μισθό που μπορείς να χρεώσεις στο project. Άρα τι κάνεις? Ή από πριν σκέφτεσαι το επόμενο grant το οποίο θα χρησιμοποιεί τα αποτελέσματα αυτού του grant για να κάνεις το continuation, ή δυστυχώς το ξεχνάς. Και για μένα αυτό είναι το χειρότερο πράγμα που γίνεται στην Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση. Ότι υπάρχουν πάρα πολύ καλές ημιτελές δουλειές. Δηλαδή, εγώ μπορώ να σου πω από τώρα 10 GitHub repositories, τα οποία έχουν τρομερά πράγματα, τα οποία δυστυχώς τέλειωσαν στο grant και μείνανε ημιτελή. Και αυτή είναι η διαφορά η δικιά μας της Ευρώπης με της Αμερικής. Γιατί στην Αμερική, με το που τελειώνει αυτό το project, αν είναι κάτι καλό, επιτόπου μπορούν να το κάνουν pitch σε ένα VC fund και να γίνει startup από εκεί πέρα. Στην Ευρώπη αυτό δεν το έχουμε. Αυτό το connection μεταξύ του αποτελέσματος ενός ευρωπαϊκού project με το continuation του δεν υπάρχει. Και είναι από τα σημεία τα οποία η προσωπική μου άποψη ότι χάνουμε χρήματα ως Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση. Δυστυχώς.